Hi, welcome back again to Law Unfiltered. Today, we're doing another episode, and today we're talking about defamation. And of course, I am not doing it alone as usual. I'm doing here with my good friend Mavin. Thank you for being here.
Not at all. Thank you for having me.
Okay, I'm honored that you agreed. He was gonna say no. Is that true?
No, I'm always happy to share.
Okay. Anyways, okay, let's talk about one thing that has been happening in this generation now. For instance, when we talk bad about somebody, lah, okay, people usually talk about each other like face to face, right? But nowadays, right, it's not really the case anymore because we have social media. When you talk bad about somebody, right, it's literally like one click away, right? Especially when kids have phones. Everybody has phones right now, and everybody
That's
is
right.
using social media. So, and because of that, it has allowed defamation to happen more frequently compared to what it used to be. That's what I think, lah. And now, because of these things, the law has also changed. For instance, because we always post things, right? So now the law has made an amendment to it to section 114A, which is to the presumption of posting. Let's just say if me now today I'm posting under law unfiltered. Obviously it's me, that's my account. How am I supposed to say that I didn't post it? So I have to have some sort of irrefutable proof to show that I did not that post those things out.
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to defamation statements. Obviously somebody else is gonna come and say like no, I didn't post these things out to talk shit about somebody, but it was posted from your account.
On your platform, yeah.
Yeah, so now you have to prove. I think there was one very famous case that happened during COVID time, Malaysia, Kini, where this presumption was applied in this case itself, and they did not win. They have to pay like I think about 500,000 damages in that account. Now, let's go back to our main topic, defamation. How is one statement defamatory in nature? For example, like when you talk about something that is not true, half true about somebody, let's just say I say that this guy is an asshole.
Well, I think in terms of fundamentals, defamation in Malaysia is a creature of common law. It is, as I said, from common law. It is now today codified in Malaysia under the Defamation Act, 1957.
Yeah.
What it really means, in essence, is when one person makes a statement that is false or untrue, which has the effect of lowering another person's reputation,
Yeah,
then that statement becomes or is deemed to be defamatory in nature.
correct. And you have to post it out to somebody.
That's
Yeah, there
right.
must be publication of that particular statement
That's
itself.
right. So one of the
Yeah.
elements to make a statement defamatory is that it needs to be published either to someone apart from the person to whom the statement is made.
Yeah.
And in terms of defamation, there are generally two types. It is
Slander.
written defamation, which is libel,
Yep.
and spoken defamation, which is
Slander.
slander.
But these days mostly it's libel, right? Because everything is typed out on the social media, is posted, is written basically. So it's
That's right.
it's more on libel now these days.
Yes, I mean, I think in terms of the net effect, the wider reach of social media means that more libelous statements are now being brought to court as opposed to slanderous statements,
Yeah,
which
that's
can happen
true.
in the context of
Yeah.
a discussion in a coffee shop. It's a
Yes.
smaller audience,
Yeah.
so to speak.
Yes, that's true. And so, but what sort of statement is considered as defamatory? For instance, I know that recently YB Hannah Yo, she has won a defamatory case against another person, which I unfortunately cannot remember his name right now. But it is because of she recently published a book. It's called Personal Journey.
I see.
YB Hannah Yo, and then A Personal Journey. I think that's the title of the
Okay.
book.
Yes,
and then
I-
after that, this person allegedly has posted and said that she is allegedly trying to convert Muslims to non-Muslims, and of course that is such a huge defamatory statement, right? So she filed a suit the person is unhappy because ultimately YB Hana Yoshi won in the High Court, went up to the Court of Appeal. The guy that person's appeal was lost. She was granted 250,000 damages.
Yeah, sorry, I think if I'm not mistaken, what had happened in the High Court was that YB Hannah lost, and then in the Court of Appeal it was reversed, and she was awarded damages of 250,000. If I'm not mistaken, I may be
Okay.
wrong because there's so many suits that are
Yeah,
going
yeah,
on.
yeah. Okay, I will put up on the screen.
And yeah, perhaps
Yeah.
maybe let's get that checked out. But
Yes.
essentially, you're right. This tends to happen very often in the political context
Yes,
in
that's
Malaysia.
true,
And
yeah.
not just in Malaysia, in all countries around
Yeah,
the world,
yeah.
where statements are made directed against politicians. And in this particular context, the allegation was that YB Hannah, through the contents of her book,
Yes.
had made certain, or rather, the individual
Yeah.
had made certain remarks about the contents of YB Hannah's book.
Yeah,
And
in
that
a
obviously-
way that
yeah, that alleged or insinuated that she was involved in
trying to convert Muslims to non-Muslims.
that's right. And
Yeah.
so, being aggrieved by that, YB Hannah then filed a claim in court for defamation. And ultimately, where we are today, I understand that the Court of Appeal has made a finding that the statements were indeed defamatory,
Yes.
and that there was publication. So I think what's important to understand is the elements. One of it is that the statement is defamatory, right? But that in itself is not sufficient to succeed in a claim. There
have
needs
to
to you have to
publish.
prove that the statement refers to
The person
the
itself.
person,
Yeah.
in this case the plaintiff,
Yeah.
and that there was an element of publication. So I believe in this context, the element of publication was satisfied because the statements were made in
I think it was Facebook.
in an online forum, which was ultimately published on Facebook. So that's how all three elements were made out.
Yeah, but what other? I can't recall like if there is any other cases that also, like similar. Like I know another one is I mean it was an unreported case actually. I just read it somewhere. This guy selling stuff on TikTok, okay, and then I'm not sure what happened in between. But after that, another TikTok user came and said that this guy is selling fake stuff. He's a scam. Don't buy from him. I mean, obviously, it went viral because it was on TikTok, and then nobody wants to buy anything from that guy anymore. That is also considered as defamatory in nature because one, you are telling everyone that this guy on TikTok is selling fake things and he's a scam. And then after that, then it was published to everyone on the platform itself, right? So see,
Yeah.
that is defamation.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. Today, as you pointed out, with the advent of social media, there are many different ways in which social media is used. On the one hand, obviously, it's beneficial because it helps disseminate information quickly.
Yeah.
But I think on the other side of the coin, it also can be used as a weapon. So in this context, today we know that many entrepreneurs use social media exclusively to boost their business, right?
Yes.
So in this context, when you mentioned TikTok, yes, it is a fact that many people promote their products, their services using social media such as TikTok.
Yeah.
And if competitors or any member of the public then uses the same platform to criticize the product or the service, then that of course can have a very far-ranging effect on the business. Whereby sales can dramatically change overnight just because of a particular post that someone may make.
But one may argue that we have freedom of speech, but to what extent can you exercise that freedom of speech? It was actually reflected in the findings made by the Court of Appeal. Look, you can obviously you are free to speak, yes, but you cannot, in layman terms, law, right? But you cannot, because of that, simply say something that is not true about another person, which ultimately would ruin this person's reputation. So when you are speaking about anything on anywhere, you have to, like we always say, think before you speak.
Yeah.
That is so true.
Correct. I mean, at the end of the day, it's ultimately a balancing exercise.
Correct.
On the one hand, that freedom of speech is a constitutionally protected right
Under the federal constitution.
that an individual possesses.
Yes.
As a member of public, one should be entitled to express their views and comments on topical
Yeah.
issues.
Yeah.
But I think on the other hand, it is also important to preserve the dignity of an
Correct.
individual's
Yes.
reputation, or in
Yes.
the case of a business, the substratum of the business's reputation.
Correct.
So, of course, if you go out and you say things that are completely false and completely untrue,
So you're asking for it.
yeah, then you're asking for it.
Yeah,
and I
exactly.
think that the law of defamation caters for scenarios in which
As such.
where you willfully go out and make a statement that you know to be wrong,
Yeah.
then the element of malice comes in.
Yes.
And you will be penalized in terms of the award of damages,
Damages,
that
yeah.
the court will grant.
Yeah.
Because it can obviously be heavier if the plaintiff can show that
There
the
is
defendant
malice.
had committed malice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But other than only protecting all these people who are willfully making false statements everywhere, the law also protects people who are simply saying that there is a defamatory statement that has been said.
Yeah.
So, like, let's just say, for example, today somebody is going to sue me for defamation. Apparently, I said something bad about somebody, and then I didn't say anything bad about somebody. So
Yeah.
this is
Of
where
course, you would say that.
yeah, I mean, yeah. So the law will also cater for defenses for these sort of scenarios. For example, we have fair comment. I think fair comment is very, very straightforward. If you're commenting on something, okay, like a post lah, for example,
Yeah.
and then you make a comment that is a statement. Okay, I see something is happening here. Like, for example, I'm seeing that this is happening, and then I'm just making a comment. Oh, this is actually happening right now. Is that really defamatory in nature? I'm just making a fair comment based on what I've seen, and that's what my opinion is. So that is one sort of defense that that the law caters for.
You're right. Fair comment is one of the recognized defenses, both at common law as well
As the act itself.
as the act itself. And you're right, it refers to opinions that one makes. I think in terms of where it sits in the defenses of to defamation claim is that unlike the defense of justification, which is more truth-based,
Yeah.
fair comment refers to more statements of opinion or commentary.
Yes.
Which is the critical aspect of it is it must be based on a fact that is true.
Yes. Yeah.
So
If you simply
to
make
answer your question,
another-
if you simply just make a comment that is
Yeah.
unsubstantiated,
Yeah,
then you're going to run into trouble.
Correct.
But if you make a comment that you reasonably believe to be true based on available materials,
Yes.
then the law can then say you are entitled to make that comment.
Yeah.
For the benefit of public discourse.
Yes.
So it usually arises where politicians make statements on topical issues that are going on.
Yeah.
And then someone
that
is
is fair
upset.
comment. Yeah.
And then obviously the politician will say, well, I know from my sources that this is true, and that's why I am bringing it for the benefit of the public.
yeah.
And so that's how they rely on that defense.
So what other defenses do we have?
Well, as I said, there is the most commonly invoked defense would be the defense of justification.
Yeah.
That is a defense that is grounded based on truth,
Yes.
whereby whatever the defendant has said, whether he has written it or he has spoken those words, it is true or substantially true.
Yeah.
And that acts as a complete defense.
Yeah.
So if a defendant can prove that it's substantially true, then it would be a complete defense in the sense that the plaintiff's claim will stand dismissed. Because the court will then say the defendant was entitled to make those
That
statements
statement.
because it is
True itself.
So that there is a old saying that what is true cannot be defamatory, and that's where justification comes in. That's one, and then you have obviously fair comment that we spoke about, and another commonly raised defense is the defense of privilege. Privilege has got two parts. There is
Qualified, not-
qualified privilege and or
Absolute.
absolute privilege. Yeah.
But I think for qualified privilege, I think it's quite easy to establish as well, right? As well, anybody can come and say like, this is for the interest of the public. So I am telling everyone here out of the interest of everyone that this has happened. So this is one defense that you can use, for
So,
example.
before I touch on qualified privilege, I think in terms of the two limbs of privilege, the easier limb to satisfy is actually absolute privilege. So that is where if statements are made, I'll give you a simple example. If statements are made in the course of legal proceedings, if it is in a particular pleading and an allegation is made, then that is covered by absolute privilege.
Yeah.
Right?
I think police report also, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
Police reports as well are privileged.
Yeah.
Whereas with qualified privilege, it's a little bit more difficult to satisfy because the central feature of qualified privilege is that the defendant needs to demonstrate that the person whom he was making the statement to has a duty or an interest to receive that statement. So both in terms of the person making the statement, the defendant has to show that he has an interest to make the statement and that the person receiving it has what is called a reciprocal interest in receiving that statement.
Yeah.
The key is that there must be an interest, that interest or a moral duty,
Yeah.
to make the statement and to receive the statement.
I mean, these days, mostly people only do these statements, especially when there's this sort of weird people. I mean, that's what I see most commonly, how qualified privilege can be used in this context.
Yeah, I think an important point to note is that in defamation, you will very often, in a civil claim, you will very often find several defenses overlapping
Yeah.
one another.
Yeah.
It's quite rare to see only one defense put forward, right?
Yeah.
It's usually
lot.
it's used interchangeably,
Yeah.
and in fairness, some of the elements are very subjective. So justification and fair comment, although they are two separate defenses, in terms of the evidence, you will very often see that the elements overlap and intersect with one another. Because one of the things, for example, is how do you differentiate a piece of fact from a comment? In terms of language, yes, a comment is a comment, a fact is a fact. But in practice, you will very often find that it's difficult to dissect the two.
Because the comment was made based on
Based
the
on a
fact
fact,
itself.
yeah. So that's where
Yeah.
it becomes. It's usually justification is taken with fair comment.
I also want to note one thing, right? For the sake of this podcast, I read a case which I cannot recall what is it called, but this lady, she was making a statement. She was saying that this person was accused for something, but she didn't complete the sentence and say that he was ultimately acquitted.
Ah, yes.
So
That
that's
sounds familiar.
half truth. So if half true and in this context, because when you say that this person was charged with a crime, it's very serious, right? And then you forgot to say that he was ultimately acquitted, then other people will not know that.
Yeah.
So it ultimately also became a defamatory statement itself.
Yeah.
So that's something to be aware of when you're saying
It's-
something. Say the whole truth.
Yeah, I think it's by selectively choosing to omit certain information.
Correct.
Now that can speak to your state of mind as to what you were
Correct.
trying to
Are you,
convey.
Yeah, are you trying to show bad intentions? Are you trying to
malice, basically.
Yes, correct, malice. So that's something to keep in mind. Now, what if you have proven that somebody has made a defamatory statement against you? Obviously, the court is going to grant you damages, but to what extent? I think it's a very case-to-case basis.
Yeah.
For example, if you are a politician and then someone defamed you in a manner that will ruin your reputation as a politician, then of course the court is going to grant damages in more, perhaps more like, for example, we have exemplary. I don't want to go into the specifics, technicalities about the damages part. I think it's so
Absolutely.
technical, but
Absolutely.
for the context of this area now,
Yeah.
exemplary damages is for example, punitive. If somebody is trying to show malice, like what we have been saying, okay, they really want to do some harm to your reputation, then the court will grant more damages to you, because to tell this person like some sort of warning, don't do it again. So that's one. Or we have, other than exemplary, we also have punitive. And then after that, we have general damages. All this, the court will take into account together and then only will decide how much to grant to you later on. I mean, more specifically, perhaps, I think you have a case before, right?
Yes, I mean, in terms of damages, you see the difference between a claim in defamation and, say, a contractual claim is that when you speak about a breach of contract, the law has a fairly neat set of guidelines. You have the reliance laws and the compensatory laws, and it sort of puts you back in a position as if the contract had not been performed or as if the contract had been performed. So it's quantifiable in that sense. Whereas with defamation, it's completely different.
Because it's reputation, right?
That's right.
You cannot prove your losses.
It's hard to put a price on an
Your
individual's
reputation.
reputation. So it's a very subjective exercise. It is for the court to assess, and I think you're right. Historically, where claims are brought by politicians, there have been those large awards of damages.
Correct.
But I think today there seems to be a trend where it's on the slightly lower end of the spectrum. And I think for the simple reason, which it stands to reason actually, that if you're a politician, you should be able to withstand the brickbats that are thrown at you. Although on the one hand, it's not right by law for someone to make a statement that's false.
Yeah.
But to some extent, when you take on office as a politician, or if you're in government, you should be open to criticism. And so you can't be expecting every single statement that is critical of you to run to court and say, oh, I want to get $1 million. You know, I think that's where the balancing exercise comes into play. As for aggravated and exemplary damages, those I think get triggered where the element of malice is satisfied.
Yeah.
That's where the court says that the plaintiff, although the plaintiff has succeeded, but the defendant has clearly gone beyond.
Way far,
has gone over and beyond with the intention of deliberately harming the plaintiff's reputation.
Yeah.
And that's where the court comes in to say that an award of aggravated damages is warranted. So I did a case recently where I acted for a very senior lawyer. In fact, he's my partner's father, Dato Sri Kumarendran, the senior criminal lawyer in Penang. And he had taken out a defamation claim against an opposing lawyer as well as the opposing lawyer's client in respect of communications that took place in the course of legal proceedings where Dato Sri was acting for his own client. And ultimately we succeeded in court, and the court found that the client had defamed him in the exchange of letters, and an award of damages of 200,000 was granted, which is a fairly sizable amount. But I must say that 200,000 did include aggravated damages. So the court awarded on a global basis. There was no separation
like on its own, right?
As to how much was general damages and how much was a global award of damages.
Because I think, like you say, it's so difficult for you to like actually put a price on somebody's reputation and what actually was the harm that was caused, because nothing can be quantified here, right?
That's right.
So,
and I should add that one of the factors that comes into play when you talk about damages is the extent of publication. That's also important. If it's limited in nature, then the award will be on the lower end of the spectrum. And on the other hand, if it's to a wider reach, especially on social media,
viral,
then you're looking at obviously a greater harm to the reputation.
So I hope that this topic today has brought some sort of awareness to how people should use social media in a way. Like if you want to talk about something, about someone, think about it first. Do not speak out of spite, out of anger, especially. I think this is how usually defamatory statements are being made, right? So I hope this topic helps. I mean, it's very general. I didn't want to go into specifically and confuse like what are these all legal terms. So briefly, this is how defamatory happens and what can you do if you are being sued for defamation. Of course, if you want more information, you can always reach out. Anyways, okay, thank you for watching. Bye.